You're watching The Pulse on the JoyNews channel. Hello there and welcome to the show. We are live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. I'm blessed Sogah. This afternoon on The Pulse, the fight against illegal mining has not been easy. The confession of President Akufo-Addo as he courts the support of the National House of Chiefs to put the fight back on track after a JoyNews expose distraction for gold.
Not been easy. It has not been popular. And we have not got the immediate results that I was looking for. My stance on the issue cost my party and I significant losses in the mining community.
On illegal mining, shortly, emergency meeting of the Security Council is underway as officials in the Gansalt municipality seek solutions to the flooding situation in Salaja and its environs, which left homes, schools, clinics and other public places underwater and leaving hundreds displaced. We'll bring you details, plus get the latest from our reporters. And the internal race of the National Democratic Congress is heating up. This afternoon, we hear from a man seeking to replace the longest-serving General Secretary, Johnson Adesidu Nketia, who's vacating his post after 17 years of dedicated service. This afternoon, we have a sit-down conversation with Fivi Fiavi Kwete.
We also understand that a political party, you have what you call millions of people who are mobilized behind you. Our job at all moments is to continue to inspire them, is to continue letting them understand that this is a project known as Ghana, and our responsibility is to make sure that this project is a better project.
He tells us why he's the preferred and most suitable replacement for Johnson Adesidu Nketia. It's all coming up here on The Pulse. This is JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible. Remember, as always, The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember that we are also streaming live on YouTube and on all of our social media handles. Is at JoyNews on TV. I'm blessed. Thanks for choosing us. We'll be back shortly with the details. Well, let's talk about Galamsey. The fight against illegal mining has not been easy. The president has been confessing to that this afternoon. As, of course, that's just coming days after the JoyNews expose distraction for gold, which highlights the extent of degradation caused by illegal mining. Obviously, we know that work actually triggered a social media campaign with the hashtag No to Galamsey. In the early days of his administration, President Akufo-Addo indicated that he was not ready. He was ready actually to put his presidency on the line to win the fight against illegal mining.
I am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter. I've heard it being said that I should be careful. Many of these people voted for me, and if I continue this exercise, perhaps they will not vote for me again. If by the grace of God I'm in a position, my party allows me to go again, and I have the health and everything to go again, that I'll not get it again. And I'll say to myself, well, this is a choice that all of us have to make as human beings. You do what you think is right, or do you do what you think will allow you to get along? I think that you do what you think is right. That is what you're required to do.
Well, the president has been speaking to that. He's been confessing that his approach towards fighting illegal mining hasn't yielded any positive results. He was speaking earlier today at the National House of Chiefs meeting in the Ashanti regional capital.
Even though for centuries we have been a mining nation, mining did not pose a threat to the health of our environment and water bodies. The rules that you put in place for mining ensure that the sanctity of our lands remained intact and our water bodies remained unpolluted. Tragically, in the modern era, that is no longer the case. And that is why I've come to you today to talk about how together we can repair this dramatic situation. Since I took office, On 7th January 2017, nearly 6 years ago, I have made it a central feature of my presidency to lead in the efforts to rid our country of this madness, which we all now call galamsey. Indeed, it was an important aspect of my inaugural address of that day. It has not been easy, it has not been popular, and we have not got the immediate results that I was looking for. My stance on the issue cost my party and I significant losses in the mining communities. It turned out that my statement that I was putting my presidency on the line in the fight against galamsey was neither bombast nor recklessness. It was the simple truth. We have tried many initiatives, including that of the community mining scheme and the establishment of a new legal regime for dealing with the perpetrators of this phenomenon, which has imposed severe sanctions on those Ghanaians and foreigners convicted of illegal mining. Still, we have not won the fight.
Well, the president's statement is coming just days after our Hotline documentary, Distraction for Gold. For those of you who missed the content produced by Erastus Sari Donkor, here are excerpts for you.
On August 17th this year, the Minerals Commission in a press release stated that the Lands Minister has not issued any license for minerals prospecting in any forest reserve. The release, signed by Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, Martin Aisi, referred to a letter by Akonta Mining Limited dated August 8, 2022, which was an application for an entry permit to enter the Tanonimre Forest Reserve at Samreboy in the Western region. The release said the application must be processed, quote, subject to the Honorable Minister of Lands and Natural Resources Directive on Mining in Forest Reserve. But even before the Lands Ministry would indicate publicly its position on the application, our checks indicate active mining in the Tanonimre Forest Reserve. A visit to the forest revealed large portions of the reserve already mined and degraded. This drone footage taken few days ago shows active mining linked to Akonta Mining Limited under the protection of armed personnel. The forest reserve is being destroyed with impunity even at the time of airing this report.
We are here at this thing, Tontokrom. They hold duties and there are some policemen and media be here.
Despite Love News' expose on military personnel protecting miners in the Odaho section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve, security personnel are still providing protection for miners who are pillaging the reserve currently, as corroborated by the Mentiahene of Bekwai, Nana Kusi Frimpong Kotobre.
My district is Amansett Central. That is where I have my cocoa farm. In that area, there's a forest called Komodo Forest. The forest is guarded by soldiers as people mine inside the forest. I had a confrontation with the soldiers. They said they are on duty. What kind of duty is being held in the forest? Ministers and people in government are the ones protecting them. Because I can't hire military men, if I could, I would ask them to accompany me to the farm to weed.
Daryl Bosso is Deputy Director at Rocha Ghana, and of course Richard Komodo is a security consultant. Awulasewa is Coordinator for the Eco-Conscious Citizens, joining us to have an extensive conversation on the President's remarks today. Let me welcome you, gentlemen and lady, to the polls. Let me start off with you, Richard Komodo. Of course, this borders on national security. We'll get to the issues of conservation shortly. But listening to the President, do you feel that he's addressed the agitations, most especially in the Ashanti region and across the country, numerous people on social media as well who have been making that call to action with the hashtag No to Galamsey, at least asking for authorities to deal with this problem of illegal mining? What do you sense from the President, having listened to his speech? Richard Komodo, you'd have to unmute, but what do you make of the President's statement today, and as to whether or not it's addressed all of the issues? Well, we'll get to Richard shortly. Let's bring in Daryl Bosso as well. Daryl, a number of issues the President has talked about. The fact that he's even calling for a national dialogue to deal with issues of Galamsey on a bipartisan approach. We've heard this countless times. What's new for you in what it is that we've heard from the President?
Good afternoon, President, and thank you for having me. And I must say that I struggle to really get any new action point from what the President said. Listening to what the President was saying, I mean, it takes us back to 2017, most of it, and during his investiture where he committed to addressing the menace of Galamsey. And then, I mean, we started some action in 2018, there was a ban. So frankly, I'm struggling. Unless maybe coming from the closed-door meetings, we are going to see some more pragmatic action to address these menace. But until then, I didn't really get anything new. There are a few points I want to pick on eventually as discussions continue. But there's nothing new for us here.
The President starts off by saying, well, I placed my presidency on the line for this. I've not backtracked on that. I'm still standing by those words, except to say that my approach has not been effective. Basically, my understanding of what it is that the President is trying to tell us. So it appears that he has that intent of fighting illegal mining, right?
I think what we are getting from the President is his admission that the fight against Galamsey has failed. But what I do not get clear also is the fact that the government is willing to really listen. I mean, I've been saying that the government goes around talking about collaboration, working with all stakeholders and all of that. But if you go to the ground in terms of the action eventually deployed to address the Galamsey, it is always unilateral, just operating at the level of the presidency and at the ministry, with no or little involvement of other stakeholders. I mean, I'm saying this because if you look at many of the recommendations that came out of the last year's National Small-Scale Mining Dialogues, which were organized across the country in all the regions, where we had traditional authorities in attendance with also sector players all featuring, there were several recommendations. A lot of them were mentioned. There were several observations of the same issues you talked about today, the lack of participation and involvement of traditional authorities, action to deal with politically exposed persons. All of these things were mentioned. And also another point that was raised was the fact that there was a need for government to ensure that the polluters and those who are messing up the environment actually pay for the damage. These are things that should be integrated into the regulation, to ensure that not everybody gets up and says, I'm going to do mining. But all of this we have not seen being implemented. Again, we have seen a clear point where the President himself is also talking about the fact that let's ensure non-partisan approach to also deal with Galamsey. But if you look at the current issues we are faced with, some of the involvement of the DCs and all of that, as in the case of Elembele and all of that, and even recently, in the case of Akunta Mine, it takes only somebody with a political cover to have that audacity to do what they are doing in a forest reserve in the country. So for me, I feel it is just going over the same issues over and over again, but really nothing new for all of us to take home. And that's why I'm saying that I am curious to see the actions they are going to come out with after the closed-door meetings. Until then, I don't see anything strong here for all of us to rally behind for the action that is needed to deal with Galamsey. We need to see a much, much stronger action, and the government should be very clear. I think the process should also be very transparent for all of us to know what is happening, what commitment he's demanding of the chiefs and also of the MMDCs, so that we can all rally behind them and take them on if they fail to act appropriately. But to take the discussion behind closed doors is not in the interest of all of us if you are really calling for collaboration.
Let's bring in Richard Komodo. They'll just be on with us as well, because he's coming from a security background. This issue borders definitely on national security. Richard, you've listened to the president, and there are scores of Ghanaians on social media joining our hashtag No to Galamsey and making that passionate appeal to authorities to begin to act now. But I mean, listening to the president, do you see any reassurance that indeed help is underway and that we're closer to ending this fight against illegal mining from a security point of view?
Considering the nature of Galamsey and the damage it has on the economic security of this country, it poses a national security threat to a large extent. To that extent, you expect leadership, and leadership must come from the president, who is the head and the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. Many reports have come from Joy and from many media stations of military people involvement in Galamsey providing cover or directly being involved. I don't see that one coming from the president, and that is where my disappointment is.
What could this trigger? Because this is the same president who says, I put my presidency on the line for this. Now he's calling for active participation in this, and he's also calling for a departure from the usual political rhetoric on this. Do you see him bringing the nation together? Are we enforcing cohesion going into this fight in the first place?
I think he's struggling, and that is why he went playing politics again. They have been to Ashanti many times. You remember when they even wrote a speech for Ashanti to read and he declined. I think what he should have said is that we've gotten the approach wrong. Let's revise our standards and let's go in and get the reserves back to where they are. The complexities of political actors and government actors in that matter do not really matter when you have law enforcement officers waiting to hear the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces give the green light. You see, when it comes to fraud prevention, which I am an expert, and when it comes to security operations, you need authority, you need leadership, and you need administrative communication from the leader. And that is what we are expecting from our president. Once again, the president failed to deliver on that note. And I think it's unfortunate, but we can still do something about it better.
The National House of Chiefs is obviously the first phase of the approach the president is adopting post this new era, where of course he's scaling up the fight against illegal mining. Next will be the MMDCEs, and when it comes to statecraft, obviously the municipal chief executives and district chief executives obviously count and matter when it comes to the municipal and district security councils. Do you feel that this should be a time where the president will tell the MCs in the face that, well, you failed me, and so there should be a cost to it if you don't scale up the fight against illegal mining?
Blazer, it will be interesting to know that when it comes to this issue of fighting Galamsey, from security intelligence point of view, there are three things involved. Let me remind listeners. When you talk about fight, there are three things involved. You must ask yourself, who are you fighting? What are you fighting for? And in whose interest? The president must answer these questions. And these are the answers the military in particular are waiting for. Then again, when it comes to the chiefs, the president who represents the state is holding the land and the mineral in trust of the people. To that extent, every decision the president or the Mineral Commission, which is a state agency, takes on behalf of the people, the chiefs must be involved. If you listen to Ashanti carefully, he said the chiefs can't do anything because people come to say to them, we have concession, we have license to go and mine, and the chiefs is left handicapped. To the extent that there are some few chiefs who want to give out their land, we can understand that.
And in
but
fact,
majority of these decisions comes from state agencies where the president is the head.
And Richard, that's why I want to bring in Darrell. So, Darrell, the point that the president made about the political cost. He says that in the last election, he's had to pay the price for cracking down on illegal mining. So, well, it's a reality as to whether or not we like it, that the political class will indeed have some hesitations scaling up the fight against illegal mining because it feeds into the local economies, and you don't want to get unpopular when it comes to the grassroots.
Well, I think the president might probably not be understanding what he's saying, that he's putting his president on the line really meant, because it's for me, the way I see it is that it means that if we don't succeed with this fight, I step down. And this is something that we're saying, because whether you like it or not, it is very hard to determine whether the elections went the way it was because of the fight against Galamsey. We should all bear in mind that Ghanaians were already actively taking action against Galamsey before the president took office, even in 2017. We should not pretend that it all started when he took office. So this thing has been on for a long time. The media have been taking very serious action on this. Civil society has been working. So I wouldn't agree that it's because of the fight against Galamsey. That's how come he had very low, I would say, votes in 2020. So I think let's move forward. Now, going forward, he is now the president of the country. He didn't lose the election. He won the election. This is where he needs to show leadership and take us forward to addressing the issue. We can't brood over an election that went his way anyway. I wanted to see him say that, okay, because I failed, or because I want to make sure this is dealt with, all appointees who are responsible or who are superintending over Galamsey in their jurisdictions, I'm going to fire them or I'm going to sack them. This is really taking action and putting the presidency on the line, and not talking about an election that he won anyway. So for me, I don't see this case neither here nor there.
But the inclusion, you need that, especially from the political class, and you can't do without them. So when the president brings in the aspect of the political cost, it's not as though you're being flippant about it. You need to be realistic here. And that's where, of course, many blame you in the civil society for pushing and urging the political class on, knowing that there will be definitely a severe cost they will pay at the ballot box.
Yeah, but that is what we mean by I'm going to put my presidency on the line. You need to take actions that are not going to be palatable to people, but because it's in the interest of all Ghanaians, take those actions. Now, if you look at Galamsey, our water bodies are affected, our farmlands are affected, cocoa, which is an important foreign exchange earner, is also affected. So we are sacrificing all of these for the interest of a few actors just because of election vote. And I think that is very something that we should not be considering at all. I think we need to put the interest of the state, make that paramount, and that should guide every action that we take. So has the president taken steps to make sure that his presidency is actually on the line? No. I've not seen any action the president has taken that will let people say that because you did this, we are not voting for you again. That has never happened. So for me, I don't see the point he's raising. What we need the government, the presidency to do is rather, I think the point he raised about non-partisan approach to dealing with the Galamsey, where we need to see the government take very stringent action without fear or favor against persons in his political party who are also engaged in Galamsey. That is where we then trust him by saying that he's put his presidency on the line. Otherwise, just referring to the elections and we still having Galamsey to deal with it, even when he won the election, is not a good case to make for putting my presidency on the line.
In fact, there's one issue I want to ask all of you. I'll start off with Aula Sewa, who's coordinator for the Eco-Conscious Citizens, also joining this discussion. Aula, the platform the president chose, this is the National House of Chiefs. So the belief is that you have a group of traditional leaders who also have a role to play in the fight against illegal mining. And yet we're all silent about chiefs. At least the last time the criticism came up, the chiefs then point the accusing fingers at the political class. I mean, are the chiefs entirely absolved from any form of blame in this whole conversation regarding the fight against illegal mining? You'd have to, yes, I can hear you now, right?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, good afternoon. I have to say that I'm a little confused as to what is going on. It's not a key to effect arrest. If we want to show that we are serious about that we say, we need to start holding people responsible. We've been told about a company which has destroyed so much of the forest reserve. Has anybody been prosecuted? It's not a key to are going to do this. So I think we need to show that there's a clear and present danger. We are aware of it, and we are taking serious action. We should start by prosecuting those who are breaking the law. It doesn't matter who they are, whether they are associated with the party or not. And that will show us all that the presidency has been taking the line and that we are serious about combating illegal mining. And also the legal mining. The fact that somebody has a license doesn't mean that they are doing what they should be doing.
Yes, but I'm specific about the chiefs and what role practical one they could be playing right now. They say that when it comes to, giving out the lands, the leases, and all forms of documentation, it's all done at the center in Accra. So you only show us proof that indeed you have the clearance to come into our lands, and beyond that, the chief would not have any other political will or might to fight that.
But for the chief can be a bit of a red herring. Whether or not you know about, whether or not somebody has a legal right to be there, nobody has a right to destroy the environment. So yes, the chief can use their authority to get the people who are destroying the land to be removed. But they can't go as far as the state machinery can go. You know the access. You know who are destroying the environment. Whether or not the chiefs are playing their role, it doesn't stop you from playing your role. I'm a little confused about this situation.
So what you're seeking to say is that all of the attention should be on the politicians?
No, I'm saying everybody has a role to play. The Minerals Commission has a role to play. The Forestry Commission has a role to play. The persons in the area have a role to play. The chiefs have a role to play. But currently, there's a clear and present danger. We are aware of the access. Arrest those who are breaking the law and prosecute them and let the law apply. Also send a message that we are not just interested in consultations and conversations, but we are interested in dealing with the problem. We heard about a company that has destroyed the environment. Whether the chief would have done something or not is neither here nor there. They have done this. What action is being taken? There was another case where somebody closely connected to the ruling party had an excavator burn. But was anybody arrested and prosecuted? Unless we start prosecuting those involved, the seriousness will not be seen.
Richard, what's your take on the issue about the chief? Richard Komodo, if you're with us, I'm just asking about your take on the issue about the chiefs.
Now, I'm saying that the chiefs are key actors in this particular case because they are the custodians of the land. But let me be quickly to say that the president and the actors who work around the president have not acted, and they are not acting in the greater interest of the state. And to that extent, the national security issues such as Galamsey, we are playing politics with it. We never meant to stop it. We never meant to prevent it. All it takes is to hold workshops and to talk about it. Because from what Madam Abula is saying, ask yourself, non-punishable of offenses rationalizes bad behavior. And we know those who are involved in Galamsey. We don't need a soothsayer, a prophet to tell us. Let's wake up and do something about it because it's a major security threat to our nation. How
do we incorporate not just the chiefs but all other actors into this to bring some momentum onto this whole movement against illegal mining?
I agree largely with what Madam Owola said. The president must act. The law courts must act. You remember the Minerals Act, the president on the 19th of August changed it to, amended the Act to 995. If you look at the punitive actions and the punishment, the prosecuting rules of the Mineral Commission and all those involved, we have a beautiful art on our hands. Once we refuse to punish people because we prefer politics to governance, and we use the money from Galamsey to finance political party activities, we'll be doing a window dressing. And President, I can tell you and I can bet my life on it. That is where the action is. And that is why the politicians don't want to fight it. And they are deceiving everybody by many of these workshops.
Darrow, for you, the chiefs, do they really matter?
Yes, they do. The chiefs do matter a lot. I mean, I recall when government wanted to pass this community mining, there were several prominent chiefs across the country who said no. The government still went ahead and passed the framework for community mining. And so if the government says they want collaboration, they should really indeed ensure that they listen to what people are saying. As per the regime for getting mining licenses and concessions, you, of course, start your process at the Minerals Commission. You are even required to go to the ground and seek consent. That's usually done through an EIA process. And many times where communities even resist and decide that they do not want it, I've seen instances where the police have been used to force some of these activities on them. The case of community mining, several communities in the eastern region rejected it, but they were forced eventually to take the community mining. So the question is the government really serious about working with stakeholders to address these issues? So it's one thing saying the chiefs have power and authority, but not respecting that power and authority. And we need to see the government really do that. Otherwise, it's just a matter of just calling them to waste their time, and then we don't see any challenge. And also, the government will go and do what they say they will do anyway. And so we don't see any reaction happening eventually, which is unfortunate.
Subsequently, the president will be meeting the MMDCEs. They play a crucial role too, you agree?
Oh, they do, because they are in charge of various decentralized districts across the country. They also sit as chairpersons for the district security committees that are there. And if anything will happen in a district, these people do not miss it. So if these people are the leaders at the decentralized level and they are sitting while these things happen, then they really have a bigger responsibility to ensure that Galamsey is addressed at their level. If we can start addressing Galamsey at the decentralized level, it would reflect eventually on a success at the national level. So if we get it wrong at the decentralized level, we are never going to be successful. So I'm keen to hear the commitment and the charge the president is going to put before these MMDCEs, because I think there should be an accounting for all the work that they are doing so far. So that if you have money, I think there was even a time where it was indicated by the presidency that it's going to be a requirement that every DCE should have an outcome to get Galamsey out of the various districts and assemblies. But we have not seen that happen, or we've not seen the government try to implement that principle, or I should say that rule they wanted to enforce some years back. So I want to see what comes out of this meeting and what will be new this time.
Finally, for you, Awula, where do we go from there?
As has been said, is there really the will to put an end to Galamsey? I think not. We have had endless meetings upon meetings. For heaven's sake, we know who the players are. Let's deal with them. Let's see some high-profile prosecutions and send a clear message that we want to end Galamsey. We don't care who is involved. That is what putting your presidency on the line is about. Otherwise, it's like an acting deception. I'm sorry to use those words. We are not convinced that there's any serious attempt to end Galamsey. And we are all being slowly poisoned and our environment destroyed.
Anyway, thank you all for your time. Awula Sewa, coordinator for Eco-Conscious Citizens. Darrow Bosso is Deputy Director at Arocha. And we also do have Richard Komodo, who is a security consultant, joining us on this conversation. Thank you all for your time. Let's stay on the National House of Chiefs, because the traditional authorities say they are fully associating themselves with concerns that the Russia-Ukraine war is having adverse impacts on the Ghanaian economy. At the United Nations General Assembly last month, President Akufo-Addo intimated that every bullet, every bomb that hits Ukraine obviously has a direct impact on the Ghanaian economy, in spite of the concerns that government is simply making excuses to that effect. The National House of Chiefs is also supporting the president on this. Let's listen to Ojeho Yaojebi, the third, who is president of the National House of Chiefs.
Ananam would like to associate ourselves with your profound statement at the United Nations General Assembly to the effect that every bullet or bomb fired in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war directly affects the pocket of Africans, in other words, African economy. Indeed, Nananum are very much concerned about the negative effects of the war on African economies. Nananum would like to call on Russia and Ukraine, and indeed the civilized world, to cease fire and instead adopt the use of diplomatic procedures to settle their differences. Moreover, Nananum express our appreciation to you for successfully representing the chiefs and people of Ghana on Monday, 19 September 2022, at the burial ceremony of the late Queen Elizabeth of England, the late Queen Elizabeth.
Well, there's more on this in terms of the economy, because JoyNews is learning that the World Bank is already flagging Ghana's debt portfolio as unsustainable. Joining me now is Isaac Ofeje with our research desk. He's also a data analyst who understands a lot of what's happening to the country. Isaac, let's start off with the causative factors. The National House of Chiefs there indicating clearly that what may be accounting for the situation is partly the Russia-Ukraine war. We all know that's a notorious fact.
Course, yeah.
It's a fact, right?
Yeah.
But what has been the impact?
So first of all, the IMF on the African, continent is saying 5 countries will have debt, levels above 100% of their GDP by the end of the year, and then they outline these countries. Eritrea is number 1. By the end of the year, they probably will have a debt-to-GDP ratio of 234.9%. A second is South Sudan with a projected debt-to-GDP ratio of 183.8%. Cape Verde is number 3 with 147.7%. And our beloved country, Ghana, is number 4 with a debt-to-GDP ratio projected value of 104.6%.
For someone who's just listening to figures and not getting a sense of what the practical implications will be, what would you say to such a person who, someone walks up to you and say, I don't understand these figures that you're just throwing about. What's the likely implication?
So, in fact, the reason why we map your debt levels to your GDP is for us to be able to measure production levels in your country to your debt level. So for us as a country, if you look at this projection, it means that by the end of the year, how much we'll be able to collect or produce as a country will not be enough to even settle our debt. So we've been talking about this, that if you look at the fiscal data released by the the Ministry of Finance itself, for the first and second quarter of the year, Bank of Ghana or the government would have to pay more of their projected value in terms of debt servicing, interest payments. So they actually have reasons why we probably will be having this 104.6% debt to GDP ratio. So number one is that it says in Ghana, the central bank delayed interest rate hikes until inflation soared from 13.9% in January 2022 to 19.4% in March, followed by a massive depreciation of the cedi. Now, the Bank of Ghana is saying that if you look at from January to this point where we are in, September, the cedi has actually depreciated on the market by 60%. If you go on the interbank rate, it's around, 40%. But on the market rate, the cedi has depreciated by 60% because we started off the year with $1 is to around 6 cedis, some few pesos. Now we are looking at $1 is to almost 11 cedis. So about 60%. depreciation.
And so here's the thing. We're finding ourselves as a country at a point where we're not able to even service our debts, right?
Exactly.
We've been shut out from the international market.
So I'm sure you just saw the Fitch ratings.
A further downgrade also coming through.
Exactly.
So it's as though we've gone from bad to worse. That's the situation
so
now.
If you look at the current tag that Fitch has actually put on our economy from a CCC to a CC, simply means that we are at the brink of defaults. And when we go into default, it will be very difficult for us to come back as a country. That's what a CCC means. We've seen government fighting off claims, first one by Moody's and then also Fitch. But the situation is dire, actually, if you look at the figures. And as a country, it's more or less like whatever we are producing as a country or the income we are getting, we are using most of it.
And for the first time in a very long period, we're being put in the same basket with some war-torn countries. Tell us about that.
Well, so I mentioned the countries. I've never seen any categorization that Ghana has been, being the same baskets with countries like Eritrea, South Sudan.
And these are countries clearly that have security challenges.
Exactly, most of them have security challenges. Now we are being paired with these countries. And they stated categorically that if you look at the African continent and you're talking about currency performance, our CD is one of the worst performing currencies in the continent. So they stated categorically in the African, Africa's Pulse report that has been released by the World Bank. So this is the first time we are seeing Ghana being paired with, such countries in a certain category.
So, Kofi, how will this feed into the IMF conversation, and how crucial will that austerity plan be to what we're witnessing today?
It actually shows you why we need to restructure our debts and why it is so important and why that should be the only condition based on which the IMF will give us a program. Because if you do not restructure your debts, it means that certainly when the IMF money starts trickling in, you are going to use the entire 3 billion or 3.5 billion that you get, most of it, a chunk of it. You are going to use it to pay your debt. So what you need to do is that you need to engage those that you are owing so that they can give you a certain breathing space for you to have a certain fiscal space to actually do some expenditures. Because at the moment, what we are getting as a country, if you add interest payments and compensation together, is more than 60% of our total, tax revenue.
Anyway, we have to leave it here. Kofi Eje, obviously a data analyst. You can tell from the figures, breaking all down for us. Is our research desk here. But let's turn our attention to some of the issues we're focusing on this afternoon. Hundreds of persons in the Wejak municipality were forced to actually spend the night outside their homes after water levels there rose to deadly heights. Now, residents are indicating to JoyNews that the flood was caused by the spillage of excess water from the Wejak Dam. Security agencies, as we speak, are working, and they've been working throughout the night in the dark to rescue persons trapped in their homes as a result of the flooding. And as affected communities have been without power for some close to 24 hours, I should say. Maxwell Agbagba joined that rescue team. He's been monitoring the event and now reports.
A member of the rescue team, a soldier, screams to ask if there's anyone at home. There's no response. Many of the homes, walled and gated properties look deserted. The occupants have all fled to safety. Those who had the information late about the intensity of the flood are now trapped in their rooms as the water reaches the waist of persons who are even 6 feet tall. For these expert soldiers, personnel from the 48th Engineers Regiment, it was a battle as they tied a thick rope to the boat to drag it along.
all the residents forced out of their homes. And this is not the only place affected by this situation. Earlier we're at Tetegu. Tetegu also flooded. A lot of the people forced out of their homes. The National Disaster Management Organization is also on the ground in another area that is Tetegu, also on another rescue mission. Soldiers from the 48th Engineer Regiment, they've come to the part where we are experiencing, what you call, the ferocity of the water that has been gushing from the greater dam. Some of the residents, tell me. Churches, schools, shops. You can see all these people, all of them have been forced out of their homes as a result of the flooding.
As we paddled on what looked like a mini lake Volta, we saw women and children marooned on rooftops and any safe place they could find. A woman who has just been rescued together with a 4-year-old son, Ryan, says they will spend the night at a friend's residence.
Why? Why? Okay.
You can hear her speaking to a loved one who's equally concerned about the situation. She's updating that loved one that they're on their way. They've been rescued by the military.
Also rescued is the senior pastor of the Covenant Family Solution Ground, Reverend Winfred Kwame, and his friend Joseph Kojo Achiku, also known as Doctor. The pastor saved his friend who was nearly swept away by floods.
I lost my car, it was submerged. And in fact, a lot, all personal effects are all gone. Everything, talk about it, everything. The caring took him. So I had to try to save him out. And I got hurt, in the process. Yes.
As the sun sets and it begins to get darker, reality starts to dawn on the affected persons. Here at the Tetegu Junction, many of them carry what they managed to salvage to the residences of loved ones, family members and relatives where they will spend the night. This man, who only wants to be known as Bride, says his sister will spend the night at his home.
I'm going to my place. I just went to the school, my sister and the children. So because the water where there is too much. There's no small water where they reach here. So that's why I went there. So we're about to go my place now.
Another man who wants to remain anonymous says he has been compelled to sleep in a nearby hotel. His mattress and home appliances have all been swept away by the flood water.
It is very bad. It is very, very bad. It's very bad. Actually, I came here 3 years ago, but this is not how things used to be. But this one there is very bad.
Some of the residents were away at work when the flood got worse. They have returned and are now stranded.
So these are personnel from the Marine Police who are here on the ground with boats to rescue more people here. But we see a lot of activity here today with a lot of residents, scores of them moving to safe ground where they tell me they'll be spending the night. Many of them have had their rooms flooded.
Here, I've met the Greater Accra Regional Fire Commander, DCFO Alhaji Nuhu. He's here with the Deputy Director of Operations, DO1 Joseph Forson. They are helping throughout the night to bring relief to the people.
As far as the emergency situation is concerned, we have been on alert, red alert already. And so since morning, we have, as a service, we have responded to places, about more than 3. And all those places we rescued people from there, 3 different places in the area. Talk about Teteku. We also went to White Cross. We also went to Tampa Valley and other places to do rescue as a service. And then apart from that, we are collaborating with other agencies that are at the grounds to effect other rescue of personnel and people and then their effects.
Many of the communities are now without power for close to 24 hours as electricity supply to the affected areas has been cut. Reporting for Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
And in Shalaja, a good number of affected people have had to actually pass the night in hotels outside of their homes after River Densu overflew its bank, leaving about 1,000 houses flooded. They want government to come to their aid as their belongings worth thousands of cedis have been destroyed. My colleague Michael Ashale has been engaged in some of them.
Flooded homes in Ashalaja, a community in the Gasaut municipality. Water from the Densu River entered homes after overflowing its banks. Many residents have now abandoned their homes.
3 days today is very hard for us, even to leave your children in the home to go out and do your market. You can't go to do anything.
Rita Sika is one of many displaced.
Last night we went to the Abain school and sleep. Some of them sleep there, and some of us, we have some friends and others, and we went there yesterday.
So your children are not going to school?
No, even today my boy didn't go to school because of the water.
Life as she knows it has changed.
This one there, you can't do anything, even going to the market, you can't do anything.
With nowhere to go and her belongings lost, she's only roaming the community. Her son, Gideon, couldn't go to school. His uniform and books are back in their home, which is now flooded.
That affected me to not go to school, and my learning too is not going well for me. At the night, my mother was having a friend, we went to sleep at the house. I miss learning so that I can become a good boy in the future.
The only road connecting the communities around Ashalaja to Kasua has also caved in. With only a small portion of the road left, residents bent on crossing it had to be guided. Owners of vehicles had to return because it was impossible to cross. Emmanuel Tay, a resident of Obeyeye, recounts the difficulty of crossing the submerged road on foot.
This is very bad. It's very, very bad. Yesterday, I couldn't bring my car home. So the boys were here yesterday directing the affair, how and we should move in and out. So a lot of people have parked their cars. They couldn't go home with the car. So I have the information this morning that I cannot use the car, so I have to park my car. Yesterday I was very afraid though, because I have not experienced it before with the car. The first time when the bridge collapsed, I was not having a car, so we managed through with the boat. But this time, as I was driving, I have not driven through water like this before. So yesterday I was very, very afraid, but I have to gather some courage and pass through yesterday.
Assemblyman for the area, Wisdom Avonyo, says they had to use boats to rescue stranded residents, but finding a boat was a hectic job.
In fact, for the homes we are over 500 and the individuals are over 2,000. Because right now we have this situation pending at Kwamiano, a place called Mamines Junction. This situation is there. We have it pending here, which is this place, we call it Assemblies of God down. Then we have the same situation again, pending at 3rd October down. So you see that Ashalaja is a place that is being bounded by this river Densu. So all the banks along the Densu where we have these communities and structures, they are all affected. Because we needed a canoe, and NADMO didn't have any to supply us. So we have to follow the individuals and then the locals and see how best. So we were planning to go to Afuama, which is a fishing community. But luckily enough, we had a neighbor who was fishing and we called to him for assistance. But unfortunately, to be frank, the whole place is being invaded, it's being encroached by these sound-winning activities. And anytime that you get there to go and raise them to, they are all armed. And they come there in the night. So we find it very difficult. So if the government can come in with a strong team, I think it's going to do a massive work, because when you look at the stretch from Ashalaja, Afuama going, all has been encroached upon. We need the assistance of the government strictly.
Affected residents want authorities to come to their aid. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
You're still with us here on The Pulse. We'll be back shortly. Please stay.
Who have been displaced by the flood are seeking refuge. The car park here, we have a lot of cars parked here, and even as we sit here, I see someone just arrived here who wants a room to stay for, for the meantime. You can see also some personal possessions also there on the compound. I have here with me the manager for Brookvale Hotel. I also have one of the people seeking refuge here. We're going to find out from them what it has been like so far. But let me start with the manager. So what's your name?
Joshua Layaje.
Okay. You're the manager here?
Yes, please.
Okay. And then I also have...
Duke Alote. Duke Alote.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're seeking refuge here?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me start with the manager, Joshua. What is the situation like? Do you still have rooms available, or?
Yes, for today, yes, we still have rooms available. For yesterday night, we had to turn down more than 20 people because I think 3 days ago, that was on Monday, we had few people came in. Then we were not too sure. We thought they were normal guests. But yesterday was outrageous. People coming in, running in, and I think some people even at the point slept here. Yes, some slept outside because there were no
They
rooms.
slept like just right here?
Yeah, some they sat in the chair. They come in the name of I'll buy a drink. Yes, they bought a drink, but realizing the time and the situation they find themselves, because some houses have been submerged, some cannot. The unfortunate thing is that most of them went out before the houses got flooded, so they can't even access their room, and so they had to rush in here. So sometimes, like yesterday, we had to go beyond the normal norm, which ideally a double room you're supposed to have only 2 people. At a point, you need to accommodate 3, 4. The reason
And these are people who don't know each other, or like
no. Family.
Okay, family.
Yes, with the hotel or the hospitality regulations, you wouldn't keep more than 2 people in a double room. Okay. Yes, but yesterday we had a family of 7 in one of our deluxe room. Ideally, that is supposed to be for 2, but you realize the situation, and we also thought that like social corporate responsibility, we wouldn't have accepted. But these are people who are having challenge, and you don't want to say only 2 people. Either they wouldn't have come here, but because of the situation, they had to get shelter, so we had to accommodate them.
I want to say big thank you for doing that, because yesterday we were at the Tetiku Junction, and around 1 a.m. we still saw a lot of people boarding vehicles, going to the homes of their family members, their relatives, just to spend the night there. We're happy you were able to accommodate a lot of them. Duke, you are seeking refuge here. At what point did you realize your house was flooded?
I think yesterday in the morning it was coming slowly, but then I think just around 10 suddenly it started gushing in, and it was said that I had to leave my vehicle at home because it was pointless driving it out. If you drive it out, I saw some vehicles stuck in there, engine gone off and stuff like that, so I literally had to. My wife was outside. I told her not to come. I packed a few things, and the house helped myself, and then we met to pick our son, and we had to come back and look for a place here to sleep. Yeah.
So you're here with your wife and then your children?
Yes, yeah, with a family, immediate family with me at the moment. Yeah.
So you couldn't go to work today?
No chance. Literally displaced temporarily. Putting laptops together. I realized I don't have this. I picked this. I didn't pick that, and so not so complete. And so, just trying to stay afloat or something. Yeah.
And your car, your car is in your home?
It's still at home.
Because at the point when you're leaving it, you couldn't move it.
Yeah. No, there was no way. The compound was flooded, and it was. Just getting inside, so it wasn't safe for me to be there. So I had to leave the car there and then come. Yeah, so I don't know what the situation is. I just hope the waters will subside quickly so that we can get back home. Because it's quite expensive being at the hotel too. Yeah, you can't be here for, more than a week.
it's quite challenging. So, yeah.
Let me find out from Joshua. So, there's no power supply too. It means you've been running on generator for the past 24 hours, more than 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, that's the situation we find ourselves because with the situation, there is no way ECG will allow power to flow. And so we have to be on gensets. And that's a lot of money. I was telling one of the staff that the little you got, you thought you had full house. But more than 40% of what you gathered yesterday, you had to use that to buy fuel. So like I said earlier, because you saw the desperation, you also thought that, look, can you give them discounts? Yes, because you wouldn't want to give what your real rate. So you had to reduce the prices because people were not prepared to come. But because of the situation, they had to come in. So we even had to reduce some of the rates for some of them. We gave them discounts. And still, you had to also run on gensets. So literally, there is nothing to gain for now, yeah, as it stands.
Okay, sure. We're wrapping up this conversation in just minutes, and let me find out from Duke. So, Duke, what do you think is the solution to this?
I'm not too sure what it is, to be honest. There may be more than political things and other things to get things sorted. I understand more rains in Eastern region and stuff are coming, and that's the main reason why we're having such a thing. I've been living here for the past 10 years and never experienced anything like this. So I hope it doesn't come anytime soon, because if that's going to be the situation, it will make the place very unbearable to live. I must be honest, yeah.
What do you think is the solution, Joshua?
Sometimes when you drive along the Wager Bridge, you see buildings very close to the water body, the waterway, and you ask yourself, why do we allow people to build that close? And I want to believe that some of these might be the cause. Yes, we know the Wager Dam, occasionally, they do open. But why this effect? Because I had some of the clients who said they've been here for 20 years. They've never had this situation. Meanwhile, they've been opening the dam. So
we've been telling you about a Municipal Security Council meeting that was supposed to be underway. We can now bring that to you, where Maxwell Aguba has been giving some updates. Well, so we'll get that for you shortly. But of course, earlier, just a few minutes ago, you heard from some residents there in the Gan South municipality, of course, sharing their concerns as to how they've had to spend the night in hotels, obviously because they are unable to access their, the temporary shelters that were also created. We'll get you some updates shortly from the area. But let's move on to some other issues this afternoon. Well, I understand that we have that feed for you. We can just get that for you right now.
Well, we're here in the Tetegu community, one of the badly worst hit, areas of the flood. You can see this military truck here helping residents move their household appliances to dry land. This is the only dry land we can see here at Tetegu right now. And what is happening in the background here, some of the residents have started killing their livestock, preparing them, cooking them, and then sharing them amongst themselves. They tell me that many of them have started dying, so this is what they are doing. Some of them are also raising concern about relief items. They tell me that 72 hours after flood displaced, many of them, they are yet to receive relief items from the National Disaster Management Organization. Let me speak to some of them. Hi, sir, what's your name?
My name is Clifford.
Clifford. you were raising concerns about relief items. You're saying that 72 hours you've not received any relief item from
this today making the third day and we have not received anything, not even student mattress to sleep. We don't have anywhere to sleep. This is how we just gather from morning till night till the next day. We are all here, but there's nothing to do. We are just begging the government to help us. Okay. Our property are spoiled. We don't have anywhere to go. We need support from the government. That is what we need.
So you lost everything?
Yes.
And what for the interim? What would you need to?
They should bring us food and mattress.
Okay, you need food and then mattress.
Yes.
Okay. So they should bring you food.
Yeah.
Is that why you are killing the livestock here in this community?
Yeah, the animals,
fowl,
and the foods, everything that we see around. Yeah, because we are staff, we can't get anything around. You understand? So the only thing we need from NADMO and the government is we need food. As you can see, the supposed assemblyman, which is called Tuna Atukpa, he tried giving us a tent and some things, foodstuffs that we can use to, sustain ourselves. That's the reason why we are here. So we are pleading to the government to give us food and some stuff that we can, sustain ourselves.
So at this point, you need food and then what? Mattress?
Yeah, mattress, mosquito nets, water and other things that can sustain us.
Do you have NADMO, have they given you any assurance?
They never give us anything. The only thing that they give us is the boat that they brought early this afternoon. Okay. That's the only thing we had from NADMO. Okay. But if we are pleading to the government, the major thing that we need right now is food. As you can see, all the youth are here, the elderly are here. We need food and water and mattress. Yes.
Thank you. Let me speak to another man. He just finished this light soup that he prepared after, killing the fowl over there, the chicken over there. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Promise Warden.
Promise?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you are eating
for chicken. You're hungry, so now you're not giving nature a house to chop. So you have food, house to chop. Only chicken way to chop for here. You don't get any money way. They buy the benku and mole that you chop. So he begs about make it happy.
Is it just food that you need at this point? In Kakblanka, Jimmy.
Molu. Mi lo do ko yenu do ko ko na mi adu. Mi adu nu ya se mi ba Ghana. E ko me nchi ya anyo ba anye.
So he's saying that they need food, they need rice especially. He's saying that they are hungry and that is why they are killing their livestock, their chicken, they're killing the goats. Anything they find here. Just some minutes ago, we saw some young men moving around and killing anything. Basically anything they find here, they kill it and they prepare it here and then they share it amongst themselves and they make a feast, of it. Let me speak to another man. Hi. Let me speak to you. Hi, sir, what's your name?
My name is Joseph Agbeko.
Joseph?
Agbeko, yeah.
Agbeko, okay. Your colleagues, your friends, your neighbors are complaining about relief items. They're saying they've not received any relief items from that.
Yeah, it is true. They don't give us anything. Since 3 days today, up to they don't give us one CD-po or one mattress. They don't give us anything. We are stranded. We are stranded. So we are pleading to them. If they can do something about it, we will like it.
What exactly do you need at this point?
Oh, anything that they give us, we like it. Yeah.
Mattresses?
Yes.
And food?
Food. Oh, we need it.
Okay. Thank you. So you heard it from the residents here. They are calling on the National Disaster Management Organization to bring them relief items. They are saying 72 hours after they were displaced from their homes by floods. They've not received any relief items from the National Disaster Management Organization. Let me speak to some priests.
Well, so the race for the General Secretaryship of the National Democratic Congress is heating up. Candidates have a few months to convince the rank and file of the National Democratic Congress as to why they should be the preferred successor to Johnson Asiedu Nketia, who's obviously leaving office after serving the party for 17 years. He says he's stepping down. This leaves the number of candidates jostling for the top job to 3. There's more on Asiru Nketia.
General Mosquito, as Asiru Nketia is popularly called, has been the NDC's General Secretary for the last 17 years. Shrugging off contests and winning easily, Johnson Asiru Nketia is seeking a change of environment, it appears, and is said to be eyeing the job of Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, who is currently the national chairman of the party. A number of persons, including Asiru Nketia's deputy, Peter Buama Ochukono, have all indicated their readiness to replace him, deepening rumors that Asiru Nketia was preparing to go in for another challenge. After months of speculation, General Mosquito says he will no longer contest for his current position.
17 years. There be any why Congress Yamanya below 80%.
For the last 17 years, there's been no internal election where I've had less than 80%.
Obia ubisa obia General Nkode Ameko. Look
at all these persons who want to run for General Secretary.
I say, me consider Sunday morning and I'm the make say General Secretary take it from me.
But he is not planning to retire. And the conversation for the last few months has been that Asiru Nketia will be seeking to rival Ofosu-Ampofo for the national chairmanship position. Indeed, some have claimed the elders within the NDC have been trying to broker a deal between the two due to the potential division such a contest will cause within the NDC. Asiru Nketia says such fears are unfounded and all but confirming that he will be running for chairman.
Matiti say, Ebinumo Kase, Asiru Nketia Nkwande Oni Ampofu Koprea, Party Numu Beche, Echako Hifa.
I've heard people say if I contest Ofosu-Ampofo for the chairmanship, the party will be divided. How will that happen? The party only last week announced a roadmap which will culminate in the election of national executives in December of this year. This contest, if it comes off at all, will test the strength of the party, even as they resolve to win the 2024 election after losing the last two. For JoyNews, Kweku Asante.
Well, one of the names emerging is Fifi Fiavikwete. Well, I caught up with him yesterday to find out what he has to offer to the National Democratic Congress. Honorable Fifi Kwete, it's such a pleasure to be talking to you here on JoyNews.
Thank you very much, Blessed. I'm happy to be here.
And many would say you've gone under the radar. Is that an appropriate qualification of what happened to you after you exited Parliament?
Yeah, I do a bit of that. Something I like to do, sometimes just to go a bit into the background, watch, reflect, and recharge the batteries. And when the moment calls, I step up again.
And I guess your battery is fully charged now.
Absolutely.
And that's why you're putting yourself up for elections. But let's get to it, shall we?
Yeah.
Of course, the NDC has always known Johnson Asiru Nketia as your chief scribe, the general secretary of the opposition NDC now, as you are. But he served over a 17-year period, obviously times when you were in power, out of power, and now he says he's no longer running for office. But many would say he's a politician. On the day of elections, if Johnson Asiru Nketia shows up, what happens to the Fifi Kwete candidature?
You mean when he shows up for
elections as general secretary?
Oh, okay, that's what you mean. That's what you mean. Actually, let's say it this way. Yes, I mean, myself, actually were elected into office the same time in 2005 for the Koforidua Congress.
So you were there when you stepped down?
Yeah, no. So basically, we both went into the national executive at the same time. I was there in charge of communication. He was the general secretary. So basically, I happened to. I mean, like him, and also for some people who was then the national organizer, and also my contender, Evise Friankra, was deputy general secretary. All of us went in at the same time, together with Haruna Idiso. But some of us, of course, after we won, some of us were called into government. He remained at the level of the party. For some people also moved into government. So quite a number of us moved into government, while a few remained. So I would say that I should believe that he has made it very clear that he is definitely not going for the general secretary after 17 years. And I can understand why, because he believes he's been in that position, he's giving the best he can for that position. I feel he understands that, listen, there's nothing more that he could do again that he hasn't really done. So this is a moment for him to, as he himself indicated, either to take a rest or maybe to seek for another position.
I'm asking that question.
I trust his word, because I had actually stated earlier that if he showed an interest to running for the position, there's no need for me to run because I feel he has done a good job. As far as I'm concerned, if a good job is being done, there's really no need to work.
Okay, so if we're to get you, the reason why you're stepping up to contest for the secretaryship of your party is because Johnson Asido Nkicha is no longer there.
Yeah, let's say it this way. The reason why I'm stepping for this position is because I believe we need what you call a perfect replacement. I mean, to continue where he left off.
So some say when you do that, you're not being your own man. Is Fifi Kwete being his own man? I mean, a man of his own words. I mean, full of your conviction and going in as a politician, believing that indeed the grassroots of the NDC believe in your capacity, a reason why you want to contest, and not because you've done an assessment, seeing the opportunities there for you. Now that Johnson Asido Nkicha is receding, then you come into for a cool job, as someone would describe it.
No, I would think that's the wrong way to look at it. So, for instance, if you have an incumbent, like we have in most democracies, so for example, let's say, for example, that Obama was an incumbent. And as long as Obama was doing a good job, there's nobody in the Democratic Party who would want to run against Obama because he was doing a good job. The same thing when you have Rawlings was an incumbent, nobody ran against Rawlings. When Prof. Mills became virtually the incumbent, I mean, it was simply a matter of, as long as he is doing a good job, why challenge him? You know, for some of us, you must appreciate this is not something that's a personal ambition business. It's about putting yourself in a situation where you can help a group and, for that matter, present yourself to be helping your country. If it's a personal thing, which I'm obsessed about, then you can say, no matter what, I'm going to run for it. But for me, it's a question of making sure that the group does not become, should I call it, diminished by the absence or the departure of one person. I did the same thing even when I wanted to stand for communication.
Oh, you've done this before?
No, I'm not talking about general
secretary.
At the time,
yes.
I mean, I'm the kind that unless I feel there is a vacuum, I don't really bother. If a good job can be done by somebody, I don't have a problem.
In fact, we'll be talking about what you'd be bringing on board. Sorry if I'm dwelling on Johnson Asido Nkicha, because 17 years is no mean an achievement for us, and that's why we need to talk about it, what he's done for the party. You seem to be touting this same gentleman as someone who's fought for the growth of the NDC. Some say if that were to be the case, you should have been in power by now.
Who are you talking about?
Johnson Asido Nkicha.
Oh, you mean about the fact that he has done a good job?
Yes, that's what you are saying.
Oh, no, I mean, that he has done a good job, I think it's not lost on members of the NDC. It's not even lost on the members of the PP. They clearly do know. Now, as to whether that means you must constantly win an election, remember, winning an election doesn't just depend on one man. Yeah, a number of things go into win an election. So, for example, you have President Kufuor, who had lost elections and eventually won. President Mills lost election and eventually won. Nana Akufo-Addo lost election and eventually won.
Right.
So, winning or losing election takes much more than just one person. There's so many combination of factors that go into it. Let me say it this way. Because of the good job he's done, my thinking would have been that possibly would have even lost even more, but for him. But for the fact that he's done a good job as a general secretary. Our performance could have been far worse, but for him. So I would say I clearly salute the job he's done. And now that he's actually decided to literally exit that position, it's time first and foremost to salute what he's done and also to present ourselves in order to ensure that we are maintaining the standards and possibly going ahead with this.
We run an executive presidential system. So if the ultimate doesn't go to a political party, the belief is you're losing out big time. John Dramani Mahama did not win. And obviously it's affected the NDC's chances to steer the affairs of the country.
Yeah, but I think it's true that every political party wants to win an election. So that really is the ultimate all the time. But it should be much more than that. We should also understand that a political party, you have what you call millions of people who are mobilized behind you. Our job at all moments is to continue to inspire them, is to continue letting them understand that this is a project known as Ghana, and our responsibility is to make sure that this project is a better project. Our responsibility is to make sure that our members understand what the ideals of the party are, and those ideals must actually be adhered to in order for the party itself to remain strong. And once the party remains strong, it means we are talking millions of individuals who are prepared to make a contribution to making the nation better. So it's not simply an issue of you must win power at all. That obviously is a desire for every political party. But much more than that, there is a need for a mobilization of millions of supporters, making them become better citizens, making them much more patriotic, in order for them to be able to contribute to the agenda of a nation. If it is all about just winning power, you start getting the kind of degeneration we've seen over the last 6 years, where everything is simply about winning power and therefore principles get sacrificed. You start doing things that are not right for a nation. You destroy the economy, you lie about education, you lie about everything, you blame everything, Tom, Dick, and Harry. At the end of the day, you collapse the economy in the process. So we must distinguish between just desire for winning power and understanding the political party. Much of that is an ideal. There's much more than that, which is about making sure you're mobilizing people and letting them appreciate there's a big objective. This about country, making the country better for them to make.
Some would say a lot of water has gone under the bridge, so it's fine. Yes, 2020 may have been in the past. Now 2024 is before you. Your party has started what it describes as a reorganization process. We've seen the branch level elections, and you're somewhere around the constituency level now.
We are preparing for that.
The hope is that by December, the national race will set in. Even before that, you believe you'll be the best man to replace Johnson Asiedu Nketia. First of all, what's your assessment of the reorganization of the NDC? The party claims that it is a grassroots party. Are you getting things right from the grassroots?
I think so. I think the current executives are doing the best they can. You know, once you're in a position, there are clearly limitations, resource limitation and so many other things. But I mean, given the constraint that we are facing, of course, made worse by an economy that is actually in complete jeopardy, that is on its knees, I would say that quite a lot of good work job is being done. At the branch level, a lot of the elections have gone on very well with minimum, what you call hitches. We are now preparing for the constituency. A lot of the constituency have gone through vetting, and therefore, within a matter of a couple of weeks, we should be having the constituency elections. After that, then we go to the region, then we go to national. So congratulations to the team. I think, I mean, given the constraints we are facing, they have not done.
So you believe that there's a good job in terms of the reorganization of the party?
Absolutely.
December is fast approaching. You'll be coming up against some names we're hearing already. You've talked about some of them. You're not shy about the names anyway, because obviously there's an open secret for you. We've heard some names, the incumbent Deputy General Secretary. We've also heard from your colleague who served with you in government, Elvis Ifriankra. What is your assessment of the chance that you see that you have going into this race?
No, I think they are worthy contenders. They've also dedicated comrades in the party. Elvis in particular and myself have gone, I mean, as far back as possible. We are very good friends as well. But this is a democratic contest, and we believe that ours is to be able to tell the party why, let's say, Fifi Kwete is a better person to be able to take us forward. I think much as all of them have great good qualities, I believe I stand taller. One, because in the first place, I'm actually much more ancient in the party than all of them. I've been right here.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you've been around for a long time. So you are the big brother, if you want to describe yourself as such.
I've been right here from 1992.
And they acknowledge that?
And of course, I mean, there's no dispute about that. In 1992, I was actually the chairman of NDC on the University of Ghana campus at a time when on the uni campus of University of Ghana, you dare not show that you are an NDC person. I actually was absolutely known as virtually a lion for the party. Stood and fought for this party until we won in the 1992 contest. After that, played a number of very key roles. Work in the office of the former president very closely. At that moment, also used the opportunity to help the party in many ways. Became what you call the propaganda secretary of the party, now known as the communication officer. Subsequent to that, played very key role in what you call setting the record straight, which was instrumental in winning power for us in 2008. Not only that, played a key role in making sure we stop MPP from winning, I mean, rigging election in 2008. A lot of people don't know, but MPP did everything possible to rig election in 2008, even the strong room in 2008. Your own colleague Van Mensan will know, because I remember that day, we kept them aware of what was going on. The videos are available. It took the instrumentality of a few people like us who ensured, first foremost that we got the result collated on time and be able to know that, listen, all the shenanigans that we've been doing have to be stopped, and we stop them in the stronghold. And those capacities are needed again now. Again, in 2024, election is largely going to be around the economy. And of course, you need somebody who actually is a champion on the subject, who can speak to the matter. And among the contenders, I mean, clearly they do know.
But rigging is certainly not on the table.
Rigging, you can never rule it out.
You have that suspicion.
Once you are dealing with MPP, you can be sure that they would go to every length to want to win election, because they believe that, listen, the end justifies the means. That's what the political party they've been. So you have to make sure, like we did in 2008, which unfortunately we failed to do in 2020. Okay, I mean, where we clearly were not in a position to be able to get our numbers early in time to be able to stop whatever shenanigan that was going on. We have to go back to the template of 2008, how we did in 2008, and ensure that we repeat it and stop that agenda of the MPP. So as I'm saying, you also need somebody who can speak to the heart of the economy. Somebody also who is connected to what I call the roots of the party, who can help the party rededicate itself to the ideals of selflessness, of patriotism, which are actually at the beginnings of this party, ensuring that we are getting understanding of what is at stake, because this is a country that is at a crossroads. The youth of this country are losing hope. They actually are starting to feel that the two political parties do not really care about country, they only care about themselves. Right. So we also need a new breed of leaders who can literally inspire them and say, no, that's not the case. It is true that we are not perfect, but as a political party, we are not just anchored on genuine patriotism, which is love for our nation, but we are committed to ensuring that we do everything possible to change what you call the fortunes for our younger brothers and sisters and the generations to come. So that is going to require a new kind of leadership.
How is this catching up with the grassroots of the NDC? Because in the end, the endorsement would have to come from them through their representatives who are delegates. I'm sure you've heard the word or the refrain, fear delegates.
That's true. That's true.
How does that come to you as a politician?
But one thing I know also is that in our party, and not just in our party, also in MPP for life, for the most part, when you show delegates what you call admire long-term dedication, they admire track record of loyalty. They admire individuals who they know can be trusted, who when what you call push comes to shove, they know they can trust that once they are in the forefront, nobody is going to do any shenanigan against the political party. You of course lack people who are able to what you call stand and speak with courage, people who have got the capacity to be trusted. Because at the end of the day, they want leaders that when resources become available, when we win power, those leaders can be trusted that those resources will be able to be managed well and also managed in a manner that it can be fair to everybody. So I believe the qualities that are needed, that the delegates are looking for, which are qualities of trustworthiness, qualities of courage, qualities of experience, one that cannot easily be pushed around. Those qualities are embodied right here, and the delegates clearly will be able to make a good choice.
Why are you leaving out the aspect of your ethnic background? It's come up. Some say you're playing that card simply because you come from the Volta region. This is the base of the party. In fact, Ketu South, where you served as MP, is deemed as the heart of the NDC, based on the track record, the numbers you've provided, and unmatchable. I mean, some would argue. Why are you playing that card as well?
I wouldn't call it so much playing the card. But the truth of the matter is this, as you know, NDC is what you call a Congress. And as a Congress, we basically bring together the various, nooks and crannies of our country. Now, at every moment, you want to ensure that what you call the pillars of the party are well represented. So, for example, if you take our party, or maybe over the last few years, or let's say even currently, if you take, for example, the Speaker of Parliament, he comes from a certain part of the nation, that's Upper West. You take the minority leader, he comes from the Northern region. Let's say the outgoing flag bearer comes from the Savannah region. The outgoing vice presidential candidate comes from the Akan region, more like the Fanti region. The current chairman of the party comes from the Akan fraternity in the Eastern region. The current general secretary comes from the also Akan bloc. So to a certain extent, there is a case to be made that Volta region, which happens to also be, if you call it the World Bank of the party, need to be having a proper representation. To be
the Volta region is not properly...
I'm talking about, if you're talking about the hierarchy, if let's say you put in, let's say the first five of the party, you won't see Volta region represented.
Really?
Like that, yeah, unfortunately. But I believe
should that be a big deal for the NDC?
I think politically it always makes sense, because you know what? That's the reason why even as a nation we talk about geographical balance, the need for different people to be represented. Take for example that you take MPP. MPP is largely the World Bank of the MPP in Ashanti region. It's completely impossible for you to look at the first 5 top people in the MPP and you won't see one Ashanti inside. That's a problem. So clearly as a party, I think we are conscious of that, and it's something I believe the party will do to ensure the voter region has a pride of place. Because of course, we represent a massive pillar in the NDC. And when you're talking about voter, you're talking about a 100% son of the region to represent that region, to ensure that that region is there at the very table when decisions.
If someone walks up to you to say you're being ethnocentric, what would you say to such a delegate?
I mean, then in that case, it means that regional balance then is ethnocentrism. Meanwhile, our constitution actually enshrines that there should be regional balance in the things we do. So there's no ethnocentrism there at all. Ethnocentrism is when it is that you are literally pushing aside other regions and only thinking about yourself. But we're actually talking about bringing together everybody to ensure that there is what you call, the interests of all the regions, or all the big regions are represented in the party. So I don't think that necessarily is a problem.
I'm interested in knowing your first 100 days in office, even, without admitting right now, or that the delegates will go in for you. We still need to wait for that test in December. But once you get the nod, what will be on top of your priority list?
Is that not a little? You know, the thing is, not just far-fetched. I also feel that we need to appreciate that things have to be done in sequence. I mean, we first and foremost need to be able to win the hearts and the minds of the people. That's the people of Ghana. In order for them to feel that, listen, we can be trusted again. We don't want to take it for granted just because MPP is doing such a terrible job. It's literally bringing the economy to its knees, and there's so many problems. Automatically we are winning. We want to understand that the people of Ghana, we still want to be convinced that we are the better alternative, that we love the country enough, we'll be able to do a good job. I would think let us maybe cross that road. I mean, when it is that we are reaching the places where we have manifestos in place, and you want us to talk about what it is we are proposed to do, I think we can talk
Some say
more
the verdict
about
is out there. The EIU is reporting that based on their assessment, the NDC has a better chance of winning the 2024 elections. However, the second leg is you need probably a new presidential candidate to revitalize your chances of winning. What's your reading into such a finding?
I would say that EIU, they've got it right sometimes, they've got it wrong sometimes. So we basically take all on board. And,
but I'm bringing that basically because you're saying that there's no assessment out as to whether or not Ghanaians indeed are resonating with the message you sold out to them. There's some study to prove that indeed you have better chances. And that's why I'm asking what would be top of your priority once you take office. Yeah, I agree on the fact that our chances may look bright. I do not disagree at all about that. But as I said, I prefer really not to start going into what it is we are going to do in the 100. You know why? Because I think I should be leaving to whoever is going to emerge as a flag bearer to be articulating those visions. I don't want to jump ahead of that person. You don't work for your flag bearer. It's not about working. I don't want to start saying things. And he feel, your incoming general secretary has already said this and this is what you're going to do, therefore you must do it. No, I prefer to allow for whoever is going to emerge at that flag. Yeah, but as general secretary, you're responsible for party welfare as well. Yeah, so on that score, on that account, what do you feel you'll be doing once you take office? Then? You mean as far as party is concerned? Welfare. I mean, first and foremost is to ensure that we learn from exactly what happened the last time when we were in power. The last time when we were in power, of course, some mistakes were made at the level of the party. So you want to make sure you learn from those mistakes. You want to ensure, for example, that we do not have the situations we had in the past where party supporters felt totally disenchanted once we were in office because they felt as if there was a certain kind of broken promise. So you want to ensure that there is what you call fidelity in keeping promises that were made to them. Ensuring, for example, that the party continues to be strong, united, and the party inspires the government. The government does not come and suddenly forget that it came out of a party. So there is that kind of what you call harmonization between the government and the party. My own, should I call it, goal is that there should be a very close collaboration
between what you call government and party to ensure that the manifesto of the party first and foremost is done, because don't forget it's a party manifesto that's going to be that's going to be implemented, to also ensure that resources are done in a manner in which those aspirations, not just of NDC supporters, but broader majority of the people, are used the manner in which that can ensure our chances of remaining in power. So that really will be the real undertaking of the party.
And a big issue that will be on your table would have to do with the presidential primaries. Are you aligned? I need to be blunt about it.
No, I don't need to be aligned. I just need to, once you become what you call the general secretary of a party, your job is to ensure that there's what you call a fair, what you call playing ground for whoever is the most popular, to emerge. I don't think there is any secret at the moment as to the fact that one particular candidate seems to have the edge. But that is for the.
John Mahama has the edge.
Naturally, if you've been what you call an outgoing president, you've actually been a presidential candidate. You clearly have a certain advantage over new people who are coming. But those new people, it does not mean that they don't have a chance as well. Theirs is to be able to go out there and convince what you call the broad masses of the NDC that, listen, we can be a much better choice than John
Fifi,
Mahama.
you are a former appointee of John Dramani Mahama. Some say that naturally makes you aligned.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because you know, you must always appreciate that the number one interest is always the party's well-being. And what it is that the party as a whole wants is where you go. Now, if the party as a whole decides that John Mahama is the way to go, naturally, who will be happy with that? If the party feels that there is a need for a change, naturally, as a party, you go. So we, at the level, once you become what you call a party executive, your job is to want to ensure that there is what you call a clear, open field to allow for the person who is the most popular as far as the party's rank and file, to emerge. That's our job.
And unfortunately for you, or fortunately for you, you've worked with Komodo before as well.
Yeah, very closely.
So that puts you in a very tight kind of as to how you'd be able to deal with these two individuals.
For me, I don't look at these issues as a question of individuality at all. No, for me, it's party. That's what it is with me.
Well, there's more at myjoyonline.com. I am Blessed Sogah. You get updates there.